To the person that got mad at me for not scraping my glass before filming, how do you like this? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's doing well today. If you guys are new here, this is Hugh, and this is my Lagoon 25, the tank that started everything. Well, if you guys have been following along, this tank kind of had a crash, and I moved all of the coral into the water box 7225 because I got worried that things would start dying in here. But I tried to save the tank itself by just keeping it running, because I had this whole patch of TSA firework cloves up here, just trying to keep that alive. So I kept everything running, but then the tank has been kind of out of whack for the past couple of weeks. I got cyano and diatoms going on in here, algae, but I took off for like 5 days and I came back to this right here. It's all goopy up top. I had a tube anemone in here when I left, but when I came back, nothing's in here. I do have a whole bunch of little mushrooms and all of that, if you guys can see through the goop, but we're just gonna do a 5-gallon water change for this tank today, and I'll scrape everything and then show you guys how everything looks. So here's the water box 7225. This thing is going through its own phases as well. 5 days I didn't touch it at all. I got algae on the glass and things like that. It's still working itself out, but all of the coral in here, it was in the Lagoon 25, and I moved it over here to save it or whatever. But everyone seems like, at least the coral that are still here, they don't mind the funky water conditions. But I'm over here because I wanted to show you guys what I have. I usually use this 5-gallon bucket to do water changes for the Lagoon 25, but with the water box build, I plumbed the RODI line in right here, and then I have this marriage saver from XP Aqua. So it has an optical sensor. I turn it on and the water would start filling up. Once it hits this sensor right here, it will just automatically stop. So with this, I'm able to do this inside the house. Before having this, I would mix my RODI water in the backyard, and no sensor, no nothing. I would just time it for about 30 minutes, and then I'll come out, and at times I would just totally forget, and this thing would just overflow in the backyard. But I can't have it overflowing inside the house, so this thing is a good investment. It's about like 40 or 50 bucks. You can find it on Amazon. I'll try to leave a link if you guys are interested, but you could also find this at BRS, I believe. But up here, I have the little play button. Once I hit the play button, the water just starts coming in. It activates a solenoid. I did have an issue with the solenoid, the original one. Right off the bat it was leaking, but I found a cheap replacement off of Amazon as well. But after that's in, everything's working fine right here. So we'll wait for the RODI to fill up to about here, and then we'll mix and warm up the water, and we'll do a 5-gallon bucket of water change. Alright, so we're waiting for the water to fill up in that bucket. I want to scrape the glass right here, but before scraping, I put in some floss on both of the chambers so it would catch all of the debris. Not all of it, but most of it, so it doesn't clog up my 2 chambers of media. But I could do a good rinsing on the media baskets as well. But yeah, I'm gonna hand scrape this with a credit card right now. Alright guys, I got everything scraped. I still need to scrape the finer details or whatever, but I'll go over it once again in a bit. But the water's done. Let's mix some salt. So as you can see, I went and did other errands and whatnot, and the water reached to the sensor right here and it just stopped. So it's not flooding my living room or anything like that. I do turn this off after I'm done as a safeguard, a secondary safeguard. But after I'm done, pull that out. I'll take the sensor out and then I'll start mixing the salt in here. Alright, this is how I mix. I use a cheap Sun power head. I got this a while back, but it keeps working, but it mixes the salt pretty well. And over here, I just got this in INKBIRD 300 watt LED titanium heater. It's gonna have a digital display right here. So with 300 watts, it's gonna heat up this bucket like super fast, and we'll get our water ready and set very quickly so we can just move on and do other things. Alright, so I got the water pump going right here, and then the heater, when it's out of water, it's gonna show a E1 for error. Let's see, do that again. There you go. It's out of water. It's gonna turn off by itself. When it's in water, it'll activate. But right there, you see 67. There's a little controller over here. You're just gonna keep pressing it until you see your desired temp. My desired temp is 78 degrees, so I'll set that. But yeah, these heaters, from experience, they last forever. I have one in my Lagoon 25 right now. It's been in there for about 3 years now. I have it coupled with the INKBIRD controller, but it's in here, 100 watt heater. It's gonna only turn on and off whenever the controller senses it. I have it with the INKBIRD controller because for extra safety, and I have it hooked up to a fan as well, so whenever it gets too hot, the controller kicks on the fan. But yeah, if you guys want to check it out, I'll leave a link down in the description, but check out INKBIRD. They have pretty good stuff, especially the controller up here. You guys can see on all 3 of my tanks, I have the INKBIRD controller controlling the temp and the cooling for heat and cooling. So right now it's at 67. I'm gonna wait for it to get to 78. It's 300 watts and this is just 5 gallons. The water's circulating right now. I'll add the salt. Alright, so I ate some lunch and this thing's already at 78, but I wanted to take care of the sand bed before changing the water. So you guys can see my sand bed. I have cyano bacteria down there. It's because of detritus that's not getting moved. So I have an AI Nano 5 in here, and usually it's blowing or alternate blowing. Or so you guys can see my tank right here. I got the mushrooms. Some of these mushrooms are like super expensive. It's probably like costing at least half of the setup for this like bounce right here. I think these are like some gorilla bounce, a sun kiss bounce, and I got a jawbreaker in there that's loose. But you can see my sand bed has cyanobacteria down here. It doesn't seem like it's bothering the mushrooms, but I have the cyano because I turned off my Nano 5 right here because the tube anemone was dislodged and he's just floating all over the place. And one day I found him stuck to the guard right there from behind. So I turned it off, and since I turned it off, the water's not like moving the detritus and I'm getting this cyano buildup. But with the tube anemone gone, I'm going to turn this on again after I do the water change. But before we do the water change, I want to siphon out all of this dirty stuff down here, have a clean sand bed, and then add in the new water so everything's pristine. So to do that, I got this from INKBIRD as well. And originally, I think Lamb, he didn't want to send this to me because I usually have like bare bottom tanks. But then since I added sand here, he sent this to me to test out on the sand bed, and this is a test for this gravel cleaner. Let's see how it works out. So this is what's inside the box. The main mechanism itself. This trigger right here, it starts to siphon the tube, the gravel or the sand gets into tubing for the water to get to the bucket. It also has this scraper right here where you scrape and then it'll just suck out everything. I didn't realize this was in here, otherwise I would have tried it. But I think everything's on the sand bed right now, so we're just gonna gravel vac everything, see how it works out. So I took the little nozzle off. I thought by putting on that nozzle that it would slow down my water outtake to give me more time to get the sand, but once the sand got in, I couldn't get the sand out, so I just removed it. So let's start this again. I'm doing this by myself, so okay, siphon started, so we're just gonna start cleaning the sand. Let me get going with this and then we'll come back, because I'm doing everything by myself. It's like one-handed. Alright, now I remember why I went with bare bottom with most of my tanks, all of my tanks, because it's a lot of tedious work. I need a new net where I can sift through the sand right here and pick up the debris and all that, but I'm hoping once I turn on the AI Nano 5, it's just gonna rock all of the debris in one area and I could just siphon it out. Right now, I didn't have the power head on for a couple of weeks now, and it's just kind of all over the place. So I'm hoping once I turn it on, it's gonna rock and kind of sift all of the debris into one area, and then I can just siphon it out that way. We'll see what happens, but I need to fill this up now with the new water, and then we'll come back and revisit. Alright guys, so this is the next day. Looks pretty good. I still had a little bit of the diatoms come back. Let me get it on the gel filter so you guys can see. Alright guys, we're back on the next day here. Everything kind of cleared up, but I still have a little bit of the debris and things like that on the sand bed. I bought a new net so I can kind of sift that out and have everything perfect. But mushrooms are looking good. Like all of these mushrooms, this is a bounce, OG bounce, forest, fire rhodactis. I think these are yumas, sun-kissed, some more forest fires right here, and I got a jawbreaker in there that's kind of loose, so I cut a little bottle and threw him in there because he'll just start floating around, and before you know it, I'll lose him and he'll melt away and things like that. But yeah guys, I want to get in anemone into this tank, but it's still going through some weird cycles of diatoms and things like that. I want that to all clear up before I get that anemone in here, and we'll test it out in this tank. If all goes well, we'll put it into the water box 7225. Now besides that, I'm hitting up OfferUp, trying to find that Colorado sunburst. Put it in here. I think it would look nice, and it's more manageable because this tank is just like 1 foot high. I can like see it up top and everything versus working on it with the water box 7225 at the moment. I gotta stick in my entire body, and I gotta be on top of a huge stool or ladder to reach that. But anyways, that's it for this tank. I'll be sure to update you guys in the upcoming weeks if I get that anemone or not. But yeah, stay tuned for more videos. I hope you guys have a great day.